The Border Gateway Protocol, BGP. When I started studying BGP, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. The more you study it, the more your mind just blows. But today in this video, I'm going to be talking about BGP peering, uh, more specifically advanced BGP peering, because normally when you would configure a neighbor statement for BGP, you would just use the IP address of the directly connected interface or the network that you're connecting to. But sometimes you will need to peer with your neighbor via loopback addresses. And the way that Cisco works by default is all Cisco messages, including not the hello message, but yeah, just all the BGP messages, they have a TTL value of 1, so time to live. So that means it can only be one hop away. But if you were to configure loopback addresses and peer with your neighbor via loopback addresses, then that's going to have a TTL value of 2, or it needs a TTL value of 2. So how do we configure that? And that is basically how I'm going to, this is what this video is about. So one quick thing, the reason why you would want to peer with your BGP neighbor via loopbacks is if you had uh, dual connections with them. So you could be dual homed with them, so you could have load balancing. In my topology, I don't have load balancing. I just have one connection, but I'm just going to go through the configs, and I'm going to go over 3 commands. There's 3 ways that you could peer with your BGP neighbor um, that is more than one hop away. So each one of these has a loopback, you can see here, and I'm going to be peering with them. So there's a couple things that need to go along with these neighbor statements, like neighbor, EGP, multi-hop. Uh, one needs to be neighbor update source loopback. So you need to tell BGP, send this packet with the source address of my loopback, because my neighbor is expecting a packet with a source address of this. If I didn't do that, uh, router 1 would send a message to R2, and the source address is going to be 10.1.1. Whoops, I'm sorry, 12.12.12. And then whatever this interface is, it should be .1. So he's going to source that packet. R2 is going to look at it and be like, I don't know who that is. I only have a neighbor statement for neighbor 1.1.1.1. So this is why we need to use this update source loopback. Another thing is when you peer via loopbacks, you need to make sure you have a route in the routing table to that loopback address. So if you're running an IGP between these peers, then you need to make sure that the loopback network is there. If not, you can just do static routes, and that's what we're going to be doing today. So I have to create a static route. I got to do one of these neighbor statements, and then I got to use this neighbor update source loopback 1. All these other routers, R2, R4, and R3, they are already configured and they are waiting on R1. So I'm only going to be on R1, and I'm going to be configuring 3 different ways to peer with loopbacks. So let's get into it. Alright, so I'm on R1. Go into global config mode, and let's peer with R2 first. So router BGP, my autonomous system is 1. And we're going to do the first neighbor statement of 2.2.2.2 because I'm trying to peer via loopbacks. And what autonomous system is he in? He is in 2. Then we're going to do neighbor 2.2.2.2 eBGP multi-hop 2, because 2 hops away is his loopback address. So we got to do that. And don't forget the update source. And we're going to use loopback 1. Now, remember I said I need to know how to get to that loopback address. So I got to do a static route. So IP route 2.2.2.2, and this is a /32. I could either do the next hop or the outgoing interface. I like using the outgoing interface command. So that should come up. Right now, BGP is slow. So in the meantime, let's configure. Oh, there you go. It's up. Let's configure R4 right here. Let's just go around in this nice little half circle here. So next, go back into BGP, do the neighbor statement for 4.4.4.4, and what are we doing here? Oh, remote autonomous system, and that is 4. And then we do the neighbor of, whoops, 4.4.4.4, TTL, security hops 2. Now, this command is a little different from eBGP multi-hop because he sets in eBGP multi-hop, he sets the TTL value of 2. That kind of has a security risk because someone could steal that message or spoof a message, and let's say a router is like 13 hops away over here. He can spoof a packet and change his TTL value to 13, and he's 12 hops away. And once it gets to R2, it'll look like it has a TTL value of 1, which he'll accept. So that's kind of a security risk. So TTL security, what that does is it starts at 255, and then it counts down for each hop. And there's no way attacker can adjust that. So when I do TTL security hops 2, he's expecting a TTL value of 253 or higher. So he sets it, R1 sets it to 255, and each hop it'll be decremented by 1, and he's expecting that TTL value of 2. So that's why you do hops 2, and then it just counts backwards. Alright, what is next? We've got to do the update source again. Loopback 1, and then the static route. And what interface? F01. Alright. And that should come up. And since I'm in global config mode, I'm going to do the static route for R3 over here. So we do IP route 3.3.3. No period. There you go, R4. And the outgoing interface. There you go. Alright, so I already set that static route. Now let's go into BGP and peer with our last one. With our last peer. Neighbor 3.3.3. Remote AS3. Neighbor. And we are going to do disable connected check. And let's finish it with update. Oops. Update source loopback 1. Now, with this disable connected check, it's basically not really caring about the TTL value, but it should only be used with directly connected peers. But specifically, if you're trying to peer at loopbacks, this disable connected check is an option. What it says on the Cisco website says that the neighbor disable connected check command is used to disable the connection verification process for eBGP peering sessions that are reachable by a single hop but are configured on a loopback interface or otherwise configured with a non-directly connected IP address. So that is one option to use. So if you were to, let's say, take, I don't know, the CCIE exam, and they needed you to peer with all BGP peers via loopbacks, but let's say they told you you can't use the traditional eBGP multi-hop. They wanted to make sure you had like security or something when you did that. So then you could possibly use this this command right here. So just know your options, and that is it. And you can see R3 came up. So we do show IPGP summary. Do show. Ah, there you go. And here we have our neighbors. So all 3 worked. I peered with all these neighbors via loopback addresses, and I used 3 different methods. So I hope this video was informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.